Sound check. 1, 2, 3, sound check. Type 1 in the chat if you hear audio. Second sound check. Type 1 in the chat if you can hear us. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Bat, say something.
Yo, 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 yo.
Please press 1 if you can hear anything. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Face of Black says he hears nothing. Wow. Basic Black says he hears nothing. Yeah, the audio is going on YouTube, man. I just unclicked
All
it.
right. So audio is responding, and our audience is just not
Yeah, the
listening.
audio is going on YouTube, man. I just unclicked
All
it.
right. So audio is responding, and our audience.
Testing worked. Yeah, let's roll.
You guys are killing us.
Yeah, it was an
Fuck.
elaborate troll where they all met up in a private DM and they said, "Hey, let's all just tell Ash that we can't hear him."
Yeah. You
We'll
gotta.
start.
I'm turning my audio down so these guys can just turn their audio up so I'm equalized with you a little better. I have bats maxed out.
Audio bats.
All right. Let's go live. We're at the 15-minute mark. 3, 2, 1. Hey everyone. Welcome to the Ash and Bat Show. I'm Ash.
And I'm bats.
And man, I guess we're not able to do more than one show in a row without technical difficulties. Set the clock or the ticker back to zero, bats.
It's kind of like in like cartoons or like sitcoms where it's like 0 days without an accident.
Yeah, that's what it is.
What's up, Jason Black? What's up, Eric, Melissa, uh, Tahilium? What's going on? Good to see you guys.
So thanks for being patient. I've been having audio problems again. So bats. What happened was I got this old laptop I was telling you about, and I don't have a copy of Windows anymore, and it's old enough that it's not supported. So I was like, I don't want to just reformat my system and clean it up like I would normally would. So I got the bright idea to get some cleaner, not the spray cleaner, but like a little software tool that supposed to clean up your system and get rid of unwanted, unnecessary files and all that stuff. And it all sounds good until it deletes something on your machine that it's not supposed to. And this is what was caused the original problem 2 weeks ago when we had to reschedule for a Monday. Thought I had fixed that up, but there were some lingering issues. And so I just reinstalled all of my drivers for my audio, which I thought would take about 10 to 15 minutes and ended up taking like an hour, which is why we're so late. But the audio seems to be working like a charm, like it used to. But then our audience here decides to play coy, and we do our sound check, and they don't even tell us they can hear us. Shame on you guys.
Yeah. It's an elaborate troll.
I think what happened is we just put them to sleep, and they're just all like, "What? The show's going on?" All right. So sorry about that, guys. Thank you for your patience. We don't deserve to have you waiting for a half an hour, 45 minutes for the damn show to start. But you're here anyway, so we appreciate that. I don't know how much more I can express. I wish I was Oprah Winfrey and could just give cars to everyone.
I would say like a whale. A whale is way more.
A whale?
Yeah, I think it was in a Family Guy. Everyone gets a whale.
What would I do with a whale?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You can you could probably go live in it for a while.
Live in a whale?
Yeah.
A live whale?
It's been done before.
Okay. Hey, you guys in the audience, if you like us, and you gotta like us because you put up with a lot of shit. So I encourage you to tweet out that this show is starting. You can just share with your friends and family and say, hey, this is live. Because when it's late like this and it doesn't go as scheduled, people just nope out. And I can only reach so many people with my tweets, but you guys can blow that up by tweeting out and having your friends tweet out, and it's like everyone retweets, and it just like ripples in a pond. I like ripples in a pond. Also,
I heard you like Captain Marvel too.
Oh my god.
Hey, you went and saw this today?
Yeah, so another reason why I'm kind of behind on things, I didn't even get home until 8 p.m. tonight. I was out all day, and I was out seeing Captain Marvel.
coincidentally enough, Gail Simone also seen Captain Marvel today, and coincidentally enough, Ash is not blocked by her.
I don't have any
I'm no,
comment on the
I'm
situation.
no, I'm no conspiracy theorist, but I'm just saying, Ash saw it, Gail saw it.
Yeah, Tahalim says sound is a little bit low. Tahalim, if you're just joining us, I don't know what to do about Bats' sound. I'm not going to spend technical time troubleshooting his mic, so I had to turn mine down to try to equalize myself, so you guys can just turn your volume up, and hopefully that solves the solution for right now. But
My sound levels are on the level of T levels at Tom King's. So,
yeah, serious.
and if
Um,
and if you read that Batman 67,
no, I didn't. I read
you
your
don't
review or watched your review.
you don't need to hear, read, see, hear anything. You don't need audio. You don't need things to move things along. You can just let the artist do all the work.
Oh, so it's like a Kevin Smith book.
Yeah, it's a low T. It's a They probably ate some edamame before writing their comic. Drank a soy latte at their local Starbucks. Sat down, consumed some tofu, and then wrote a comic.
So speaking of letting the artist do all the work, I just posted recently last night my review for Naomi #3, and I think most people that follow my channel are going to be a little surprised at my findings. Man, there's some good things to be had in that book. I was pretty surprised. I won't spoil my spoiler of the book. But if you want to spoil the book for yourself, or if you've already read it because you're a masochist, then please go on and check out my review because I was rather shocked, honestly. And I wanted to bring that up. In that book, Bendis does he does a good thing by letting the artist tell the story and not at the right points. He just has like 2 pages in a row of just silence, but it works. Like it's not just I don't know. I don't feel right hyping up Bendis, but I'm like, holy crap, this book is, excuse me, just getting better and better. And I never thought I would be saying
Well, when you're at the bottom, the only way.
this. You're right.
Stop.
He's like jumps off a building face first, and then he's like, all right, now I can only get better. But just in case you think, like Eric Breen, that I'm in a Bendis fan club, you can still continue to watch my Superman reviews. Oh, and I don't know. I can't keep track of what I've posted. Um, but if it's not out already, it'll be out soon. My Young Justice #3 review.
Oh, goodness gracious. Woo, man.
Woo!
Have
Oh
you
boy.
watched my review? That one's a doozy.
Did you do a Young Justice 3 I missed?
I did, yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go back and watch it then.
You've read the book?
Oh yeah, I did a review on
Okay.
it, Bats.
Yeah, me so as a big fan of the integral characters of Young Justice, which would be Tim Drake, Connor Kent, Impulse, and Cassandra Sandsmark,
Oh my.
Bendis has like missed the mark in every way, shape, or form when it comes to those characters. So much where I'm like, I love and respect these characters so much that I cannot do this again. I can't. So yeah, at the end of my review, spoiler, I just say I'm not coming back.
Wow.
I'm not giving it another $3.99.
Oh, I respect you. Yeah, yeah.
Will
And
I
I
will
know
I
you're a
still
fan of Young Justice. I'm not, so it's easy for me to rag on it. I'll try to carry the banner for you while you
I mean,
recoup your.
will I still choose to hurt myself a monthly basis by reading it in the store for free? That's a possibility. That is a possibility. But as a consumer of those characters, I can't do it. I have to be like a part of the falling numbers game. I can't buy it because like I'd rather buy the Impulse series by Mark Waid or the Superman or Superboy story by who did that? I want to say it was Jurgens, but I'm pretty sure it was wrong. I know Carl Kessel and Tom Grummett are involved, but who's the writer? Let me look that up. Curious now.
Well, while you're looking
But
that up, um, I'm gonna just plug myself for a moment here, since I mean, why not? It's half 50% my show. Um, when my Young Justice 3 review, I encourage all of you guys that are in the chat to watch my review. I'm rather proud of it. I think it's one of the best reviews I've done in a while. Sometimes I do a review, like I did a review for Assassination, and after I was done, I was just like, God, that sucked about as bad as the book did. Like, I was like, should I even post this? And I was like, nah, no one cares about Assassination. We'll just post it. Like, who cares? But Young Justice, I tried to bring out my A game, and I think it's like a 19-minute video. It's a little long, but I think it's worth it. Like, it has pretty good energy. Anyways, tell me what you think when you watch it. I'd really like some feedback on this video because, like I said, I feel best about this video, and I've been holding back because I had just done a Young Justice 2, and I was like, I don't want to release them back to back. I want to pace it out. I did a bunch of reviews, like videos. Like one day I just sat down and banged out like 6 videos in a row all day. And now I just have this backlog where I'm just leaking them out. And it's kind of tough because it's like Christmas. You just want to open up all your presents at once. But it's like, nope, save it. But we were talking about Marvel. And I'm going to do a review, I think, of the movie proper. So I don't want to talk about it too much. Because you haven't seen it, right, Bats?
no, I've pretty much dipped out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, boy. That's a big thing to dip out on.
It is, but uh, with superhero films, I've kind of was chasing the dragon of getting a Justice League film,
Oh.
and then once I got it, I was like, oh, well, okay,
It's like meeting your hero. You're like, oh.
yeah,
Oh.
it's like I still like Neil Adams, but I'm like,
I always wanted to see a Batman versus Superman, and
yeah,
now,
like,
now I'm
like,
now I'm, oh,
no, I'm still a strong defender of the BVS.
oh boy.
Yeah, I've always been a big defender.
It wasn't the uncut version wasn't a terrible movie, but boy did they got Batman
It's
wrong.
definitely a movie that like if you're not uh, a DC fan such as myself, it's not really a watchable film.
What are you talking about? I said I liked it.
No, yeah, I know,
It's
but
just a
like,
super flawed movie. Like it,
yeah,
especially
it,
I mean, I've never seen the theatrical version, but my buddy when I was watching it was pointing out all the scenes like that weren't in there. He's like, "Oh yeah, this scene wasn't." I was like, "Good God, how did anyone watch this movie?" This is explaining all sorts of stuff, and some of the things like the Lex Luthor character is just like, oh my gosh. I mean, and I'm open minded. I'm cool with like change shit up. Like I was cool with the gangster Joker and Suicide Squad. You know, like I'm okay with mixing things up, but I did
you don't
not
want
get
you
that
don't
Joker
or Lex, you mean?
or Lex Luthor. Yeah, like
You don't care for the Asperger's version of Lex Luthor?
there were some aspects I really respected. Like I was like, okay, it makes more sense that he's sort of like a young tech mogul guy, like
Yeah,
instead of that's in modern society that is more believable, makes sense. But his personality was just too wacko. Like they kind of made him kind of Joker-esque. Like I was like,
he
I think
felt
Lex. What appeals to me about Lex Luthor is this calm, calculating mentality that he knows he's mentally superior than you. He doesn't need to tell you, and in the end he's gonna win because he's Lex Luthor. Like
see, see what I would like to see personally is in Batman versus Superman, he goes to jail, right? And then what I would like to see is kind of like this snapping point for him in jail, where he goes from that like you know almost zany, quirky weirdo to like he stops running his mouth and stops acting that way because something clicks for him. Like that's what I personally wanted to see. It's like
Yeah, that I mean that
like
would have
because
definitely improved things. I would 100% agree.
prison in general changes people and their psyche and how they interact with people
Yeah,
once it, once they get out. So that's kind of where I was like, I'm fine with him like this the first time, but now as he's gone to prison and then he when he gets out of prison, he needs to change. He
but
can't
then
be the
but then wouldn't you worry that he just becomes Kingpin? Because that's exactly what they did with Kingpin.
sure, sure. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, I chased the dragon of seeing a Justice League film. I saw it, and then now I feel like just all superhero movies, I can kind of just move on with my life. Like Aquaman is a movie that I had to see. Like, 'cause
I was really. There's another flawed movie, but man, did I like that movie.
because
So
like
many good things about that movie.
there's like, had you told me even just like 10 years ago in 2009, like, hey, Aquaman's gonna make $1 billion, I'd start laughing.
Right?
Be like, yeah, right, dude. I'm like the only person who likes Aquaman.
Yeah,
But,
I admit, like a year ago, I would have been like Aquaman's stupid. I would have been like I would have been talking all sorts of trash like an idiot about Aquaman. So that's amazing. I can't. It used to be a joke. I mean, one of my favorite shows of all time is Entourage on HBO. I
no,
don't know if you
yeah,
ever.
yeah, absolutely. Like
And
that's a movie.
they made a joke out of it about like James Cameron's Aquaman and stuff like this, and it was just
And
like,
it's I always me and my roommate at the time would always talk about how like the only reason they picked Aquaman is because it's the one DC property that couldn't be turned into a film.
right, right, yeah, that was the thing. Like, and if you could do it, only James Cameron could somehow make it work. He just like, but congrats to DC and James Wan and Warner Brothers. Like, holy crap! I'm looking forward to the sequel, not the spinoff. You heard about the spinoff that they're doing?
I have not heard of a spinoff.
Yeah, they're doing a spinoff movie of The Trench.
Uh,
I'm like, what
well,
are you
see,
doing, DC? You're
I,
on a
I,
roll. Just
I take everything that DC says with a powdered grain of salt because they have announced like 40 films and have put out what, 5. So
I guess that's true. I guess we'll
you
wait.
know what I'm saying? Like
This
this.
one sounded pretty concrete though. They're like, we're pushing it.
Yeah, I I don't know how
You're
you
right.
can
You're right. I mean,
make an entire film about like the mindless villains of the
right, right.
Aquaman.
I'm just saying it didn't the way they talk about it though, it doesn't sound like a Black Adam thing. It sounds like this is gonna happen because precisely because it doesn't have any big stars. It's gonna be low budget. Like I think what they're trying to do is they're gonna be like, we can't make another Aquaman right away, but we want to keep Aquaman in the minds, so we'll make this like side vehicle project. And I'm just like, just don't do it, don't do it. But back to Marvel, man, we are the kings of getting off track. Since I'm going to do a review and you haven't seen it yet, and I know you're like a noped out, you're going to see this stuff on video. Come on, admit it. When it comes out on Netflix.
Well, my mindset is that when they end the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I will start from the beginning and watch it in order.
Oh, geez,
So
that's a way to burn out quick. I kind of understand your feeling. I do have a little bit of superhero fatigue. I think my
everyone
problem
says
is
they don't have it, but
my problem.
I've
Go ahead.
everyone says, "Oh, that's not happening," and that's because normies are still like on the hype train. Like even my roommate was like, "I gotta see Captain Marvel." It's like, no, you don't have to see it, and he's like, Well, I've seen every Marvel movie, and this one's right before Endgame. It's like, bro, you don't have to see it. Like, just go see the Avengers. You don't want to see it, so why are you gonna force yourself to go spend $20 to sit through a 2-hour movie you don't want to see? Stupid.
Well, I gotta
But
say,
but normies still go do it because they like, oh, I gotta see it. I've seen every Marvel movie in theaters.
well, I gotta
You know?
say, if you are uh, a Marvel Cinematic Universe person, like you see the films, you kind of gonna want to see Captain Marvel. As much as I don't want to be the guy to say it, I don't really want to promote this film. Um, I think if you just skipped this film and went from Infinity War to Endgame, and then all of a sudden it, Captain Marvel just appears in the second film, you're gonna be like, what? It's gonna feel weird. This film will give you the foundation of her character that you'll need, I think, to care about her. And I gotta say, this film is not the train wreck I was expecting it to be. And believe it or not, Brie Larson is not bad in the film like I expected her to be. Um, there's a lot actually good about this film. I was shocked. There's a few points where I was like, "Oh, this is really good." Like, oh, Marvel has not lost their touch. Now they make some mistakes. It is they push the feminist agenda in this film in areas where they didn't need to. Like they tell this story about Carol Danvers, and the whole thing about her character is about how she doesn't quit trying. She's a failure, and everything that she's done, she hasn't succeeded. She tried when she's a little kid. She's like a race cart, like a go-kart racer and stuff, but then she crashes. She's like playing softball or whatever, and like she's like striking out and like getting like just not doing things.
So
But she
she's not
always
good at things.
she's
That's
not
what
good at things. But then she's always getting back up when she fails. It's like her thing. And when I was watching, I was like, this is handled really well. I like this. Like, I don't have any problems with this. Like, this is a good character. Like, where was this in the comics? Where is this girl who just wants to succeed and she fails and she knows she's got problems and she needs a mentor, and the film gives her one in the form of Jude Law's character as this guy. The film opens up with him like trying to train her, and I was just like, wow, what's going on? And then we get Marvel. Captain, well, they never call her Captain Marvel. And yes, I said her. Marvel has been changed into a woman. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, you've got a film where the lead character is a woman. Her best friend is a woman. They even have Monica Rambeau as a character that I'm sitting there going, this is a plant for later, when I have a feeling whenever Brie Larson's done being Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau is going to be the new Captain Marvel, and they're just sort of planting that seed in this movie, and which is fine, right? Like, okay, great, it's backwards from the comics, but whatever. But there's no need for them to replace Captain Marvel and gender flop him like this. Like, is it going to make the film less feminine? Like, oh, it's this patriarchy film. No, the lead character is a woman. Like, is it by making Marvel a woman, it just feels like overly like, nope, it's not feminist enough. We got to push this harder. And it's like, you didn't need to do this. You're just telling a good story about a good female hero character, and you were doing this right, and then you threw like, nope, slather it on more. Like, no. That's where Captain Marvel fails, is in these extra bits that just aren't necessary. And it's what's frustrating about the film is it is 50% like old school comics, like what we always talk about. Like, In the old days, like Storm led the X-Men and no one questioned it. It wasn't like a big deal, or it wasn't like an agenda. It's just she was a leader and cool. Like that was it. This film is partly like that. You're just like, hey, it's Captain Marvel and she's it's cool. Like I'm not caring. And then they throw in the extra bits. Like, oh, we got to remind you. I'm like, come on. And they got like a couple bits here where it's like, she's there's a bit where a guy is looking at her, kind of just, like kind of making a pass at her or whatever, and he tells her to smile. And I'm just like, oh God, this is so unnecessary. Right? And it's like, we've seen all the media stuff with her. Oh, Brie Larson doesn't smile. She actually does smile in the film. And she jokes and she makes wisecrack. In fact, the weirdest thing about the film that I didn't expect is she's the wisecracker character of the film. She's part of this Kree soldier team, and they're all super serious, and she's always cracking jokes. So that was kind of unexpected. And so we get this guy is like, this man, how dare you, man, tell me to smile, and it's just like, oh, come on. And there's another scene. There's a couple scenes where it's like, that's not necessary. You were telling a good story about a female hero. That's fine. And I saw it with my buddy and his two kids. One's a little boy, one's a little girl, preteen. And funny enough, just, this is kind of beside the point, the boy loved the film. The girl was kind of like, eh. And I was like, that's not what I expected.
Well, no, that's what you're supposed to expect.
Like I was watching it because the girl in the film, when it shows like young Carol Danvers, like as a little girl, I was like, that reminds me of my friend's daughter. Like, I was like, oh, maybe she's gonna see herself as this character, and she's gonna see a character she can identify with because she's seeing her as a kid, and and she happens to also play softball. I was like, oh, okay, but didn't matter. Like,
yeah, but I don't believe that mentality of like seeing yourself. Like my favorite character when I was a kid, besides Batman, was Zach from Power Rangers, and I can't dance. I'm white as hell. And he was like in high school, and I was like 8 years old. So I was just like, he's cool because he dances, and he's got his own like theme music, and it's and it like, I always thought that was so cool. Like, it's not so, I don't think when kids watch stuff, I think they watch stuff what they think is cool, not like, oh, that's like me. Like I've never saw myself represented in a Godzilla film, but I think Godzilla is cool. Like,
sure, and I agree with that too. Like I think it applies a little bit more towards race. I think if you need a character to have your skin color to identify him with, then you're just a racist.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Zach from Power Rangers was black.
Right, but we always hear from the SJWs all the time. It's like, we need more representation. With these people, they can't. They have to see white people, and they can't ever. Why can't they have someone that they see like themselves? And I'm just like, well, you're accusing me of not wanting to see a black character because I'm white, but you're saying black characters can't see white characters because they're black. I just they're people. Like, I identify with robots. I identify with aliens. Like
giant monsters.
Yeah, like, okay, now for a kid, it's a little bit different. And also, I think I wasn't necessarily identifying with the character because, oh, you have the same gender as I do, but more of like, oh, look, I like softball, you like softball. Like, I do think that there is a little bit to that of seeing characters that you relate to, especially when you're a kid and you don't have much world experience. It's like your whole life is, I go to school and I play softball. Like, I don't know anything else. Like, so you see another, like a superhero, you're like, oh, they do the same thing I do. It's amazing. I was expecting some more, but whatever. That's beside the point. The film itself, had some moments that were like kind of campy. There's a part where Carol finally kind of realizes her powers and gets in a fight, and they play this No Doubt song, I'm Just a Girl, and it's just like so on the nose. You're just like, oh. But for every moment like that I could critique, there's some honest to goodness good ideas in this film, and I was shocked. I was expecting this movie to be about Thor quality, and it's better. So, it's not in my bottom three, I don't think, which really surprised me. And I think like politically and like agenda wise, I think Black Panther had more offense of agenda pushing than Captain Marvel actually does. I feel like most of the problems with Captain Marvel as a movie are just in storytelling. Like, just things I don't necessarily want to spoil right now, but yeah. So I'll do a review on that, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. Hopefully I didn't bore the audience to sleep. If you guys have any comments about the movie that you guys saw it, feel free to put it in the chat. I'd like to interact with you guys. Yeah. So anything going on in the news, Bats? I think I lost Bats. So, all right. Let me make sure my sound is still working. Sitting here talking to myself.
Sorry, I had to
one time.
mute my mic for a minute and I forgot to unmute it.
Oh, the Bats is alive.
Yeah. Hey, so you remember in the old days when there was like a summer event?
Summer event? You mean like comic books?
Yeah.
Yeah. One
Like
of my
the
favorite
old
events,
days of,
ironically, coincidentally, is Infinity Gauntlet. That's a great one.
yeah. You remember like when there was just like one a year?
Yeah, that's always how I remember it.
Yeah. Well, now we're doing like what, like 4, 3 a year, especially at Marvel. And I know there's a lot of hype for it, but I have no interest whatsoever in Absolute Carnage. I don't understand the hype. Do you?
Yes, I do understand the hype. Donny
Can you
Cates and Ryan Stegman and Venom. I mean, they're the best thing at Marvel right now. And when you're in hell, a cold glass of water is probably the best drink that you can probably get.
Yeah, I suppose I was gonna go with the cheese analogy, but sure, that's a much more known analogy. I was like, if you all only eat an American cheese and you've never had Gorgonzola, it's like,
I'll take American over Gorgonzola any day.
oh yeah, you're not a connoisseur of cheese such as myself.
Not stink cheese like Gorgonzola.
It's delicious on waffle fries.
Oh, I'll take your word for it.
With a little bit of green onion and some bacon bits. Oh man, it's a salty, delicious treat right there. But yeah, I just don't see the hype. I don't get it really. I know Zach is really hyped about it, and I watched the video. I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Carnage is stupid to me, but right on.
Yeah, I'm not a big Carnage person, but he's popular. Let's face it.
No, yeah.
I mean,
No, yeah, he's absolutely popular.
So, and I see, first of all, I think there's a lot of people who are just like face palming this War of the Realms event. Like, it hasn't even come out yet, and people are just like, oh, good Lord. I can't wait till this is over. I haven't even started. And I think a lot of people, if I had to take a guess, are probably like, oh, yeah, Donny Cates, he's knocking it out of the park with Venom, and look what he's doing with, what he did with Cosmic Ghost Rider, and everything he's done. He did a Thanos book. he seems to be really highly regarded over there at Marvel. And as a non-Marvel person, I just kind of take people's word for it. I follow other reviewers I trust, and it seems like they're doing really well. And I gotta say, those two guys, Donnie and Ryan, they conduct themselves really well as pros. They market their books. They engage the audience. They're funny. They make, they understand that they're in a entertainment business. Their job is to entertain, and they aren't just sitting up there like Gale talking shit about fans all day long. They're cracking jokes about their book. I like with Venom, their whole shtick that they would have. They used to have, for those of you that didn't follow, last year when they launched Venom, was it last year?
Mm-hmm.
About a year ago, I guess. They launched Venom, and their whole thing was like better than Watchmen. They kept posting, and the idea was to be controversial, right? To engage fans, and fans be like, "What? This ain't better than Watchmen." But once you get people to that point and go, "What?" Then you've got them, right? Now they're like, "I'm gonna read this book and prove it's not." Just get them to read the book. And their new thing for this series is we're gonna sell more than Jim Lee's X-Men. 8.8 million copies. Like, it's not gonna happen. Like, if it did, I would be blown away. But it gets the audience engaged. It gets people going, "What? You're let's see how much this book will sell. Let's see, if it could sell 1 million, that would just be amazing."
Mm-hmm.
So I like what they're doing. And I gotta tell you, Bats, I'm pondering giving it a shot. And I hate to buy Marvel Comics, but I'm gonna be buying my first Marvel comic here, maybe tomorrow if I get to the comic book shop, but certainly Wednesday if I don't. And that new Spider-Man book. Speaking of which, shout out to my YouTube buddy Gateway into Comics. If any of you guys haven't seen his videos, he did a video review about the Spider-Man's time book. Was it Into the 60s or
Life story?
The life story. That's right. It's by decades, so it's telling the story of Spider-Man in real time, starting in the 60s, and then the next book will be the 70s and going up to today. And he did a review of this book that, wow, it was a really good review. I encourage, even if you're like, I'm not going to get that book, you should still watch the review. It's a good review. Blows my reviews out of the water. I'm probably losing, I'm going to lose some subscribers to him, but it convinced me to buy my first Marvel comic in 25 years. So I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to try it. And, Melissa Harris says one more day ruins Spider-Man, and I won't argue that. But this book, one of the reasons I'm going to buy this book is because it's sort of its own thing. It's not a normal ongoing Spider-Man continuity book. And that's what's allowing me to I won't buy any ongoing series with Marvel. But if I do, I have a feeling Donny Cates will be the one that pulls me over.
Oh yeah, this one's Chip Zdarsky and Mark Bagley. I like both those creators.
Yeah, Mark Bagley was drawing Spider-Man back in the day when I was still collecting Spider-Man. he was the artist. So that's kind of interesting for me to. I don't think I would buy an ongoing book from Chip Zdarsky at this point. Maybe he could convince me, but this miniseries, this feels like, not only does I feel like it's going to be a good book because I trust Gateway into Comics, but I also feel like this book is going to be sort of one of those event books. We talk about this a lot of times, like in modern comics in the last 20 years, name a great book. Where's Watchmen of the last 20 years? Where's Infinity Gauntlet? Where's Kingdom Come? Where's, like, you don't have any of that. In the 80s and 90s, you can rattle off all sorts of stuff.
The last one is New Frontier. That's like the biggest one.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that being the biggest, but even New Frontier doesn't get put up in those hallowed halls.
No.
So I have a feeling that if any book has a chance to maybe do that. Maybe this does. And I'm gonna read it for myself and give it. I really want to. If it is, I don't want to miss it. If this is the next Marvels, you know, like I don't want to be like I missed it.
Yeah, I'm with Eric Brain on this one. It says Ed Brubaker's Captain America is the best Marvel of the 20th century. The first run. Yeah, I agree with that.
The 20th or 21st century? Oh, okay, 21st century. Okay, maybe I'll have to check Brubaker's Captain America run. I do like Captain.
It was like in 2006 or 7, so it's still like fresh after 9/11, and it is literally like totally anti SJW.
Really?
Like, yeah, Cap is like kind of brutal. He's a little bit more mean. He's like, this person's a terrorist. They deserve to die.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
All
like
right.
he learned, like in the very beginning, he's like fighting terrorists like on a moving train, and he's just like grabs one by the shirt and just throws him off the train. It's like yeah, I don't got time for you.
Wow, that's cool.
And then like they're like shooting at him, and he just pulls his shield, and they ricochet and hit him in the face, like they like kill themselves essentially. But it's like, oh yeah, Cap's pretty brutal. He don't play any games. He was kind of like where America was mad, so was Cap.
Well, I'm gonna look that up on ComiXology and see, maybe if I'm lucky, it'll be um, ComiXology Unlimited, so you can read it. I just want to give a personal shout out to Oz Chris, who's in our channel. I've watched some of his videos and I like them. So thanks for coming to join us and say hello. Appreciate it.
I was trying to say hi to him, but you were going on about Captain Marvel.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, welcome, Oz.
All right, so let's address the news real quick, and then we'll go on to our ComiXology Book of the Week.
Okay.
So not very comic related, but it's big news related. Trump got exonerated. The Mueller investigation finds nothing after over 2 years. Trump is shown to be no collusion, and no further indictments are going to be made. What do you think about that?
Awesome. I think it's awesome. Me and my roommate were talking about this, and he was driving me to work, and it was really funny. We're sitting at a stoplight, and this like lifted Chevy 3500 was sitting at the stoplight, and they go to turn left, and as they started to pick up traction, this huge Trump flag like starts flying behind their bed, and then they like hit the smoke thing on their truck, and it's like and I was like, yes. And like I look in it, and it was like two hot girls driving this truck, and I was like, this is the greatest thing I've seen in like a year. And then there's just a bunch of people like being in California in like near San Francisco, there's a bunch of weirdos. And so like I just like watched the reaction of other people in the intersection, and a lot of people were very shocked and not too pleased with these white girls in a lifted diesel truck that could blow smoke out of it. But I was like, this like celebrating Trump, like people are celebrating this. And I think that's awesome. Because it's been going on for like 2 years, and like I've had interactions with people. They're like, oh, you just wait until the Mueller report gets finalized and your president is impeached. And I was like, that's okay, whatever. Then Mike Pence is the president.
Like, I just literally saw a commercial today from some group that's decided to put funds together or whatever. It's basically a group whose whole existence is to try to impeach Trump. And I saw literally a commercial about join us and sign this petition to impeach Trump, blah, 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 this impassioned plea. And I'm just like, 2 days ago, we just found out that there's nothing. 2 years of nothing. What do you want to impeach for? You don't get to impeach the president just because he's not part of your politics. That's not how it works. Like, you know, we didn't impeach Obama. We're not impeaching Trump. Sorry, he's not on your side. He's your president. Let's move on. Let's try to make this country good and stop trying to shit on everything. And some people in the audience might be going, why are you guys talking about Trump? Well, this is a comic book show. And I agree. We're not going to dangle on it, but it was big news. And part of the reason I wanted to talk about it, because Bats was like, I don't know, that's not comic book. And I was like, but just the other day, we had Bats' hero, Neil Adams, talking shit about Trump.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit comic book news because our comic book pros, these guys that we love and we pay money for and stuff, can't stop reeing over this guy who hasn't done anything. they're bitching and moaning and they're crying over nothing. Nothing. This guy hasn't done anything. They call him a racist, but there's no examples of racism. They call him a sexist. There's no examples of sexism. There's nothing. Everything that they try to label. Oh, he's a conclusion with the Russians. 2-year investigation. Nothing found. Nothing. They just want to demonize this guy. Now look, is Trump crass and crude? Yes. Does he say dumb shit? Yes. Is he the perfect president? Of course not. But he is the president. He was elected. That's our process. In a couple years, we're going to elect again and see. Maybe Trump gets reelected. Maybe someone else. And we just go. You know,
Eric Breen says Neil Adams is so embarrassed to be white that he's going to go to the next convention in blackface.
That would be amazing. That would be so amazing. So we'll move on from that. I was like, I haven't talked about this. I haven't tweeted about it, and I've been wanting to, and I'm just boiling up inside. I'm like, I just need to get it out there. So thank you, audience, for letting us at least mention the news on that. We already talked about absolute carnage.
As we have 2 Australians in there, they're like, in the audience, they're just like, yeah.
Well, you know, Tom Taylor cares.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I always forget he's from Australia.
Yeah. I've never seen an Australian care so much about American politics. Speaking of non-Americans caring about American politics, Jim Jeffries has recently been in the news. Now, people might be going, why are you guys talking about Jim Jeffries now? Well, for those of you that don't remember, Jim Jeffries, he's got the show on Comedy Central, and it's kind of funny. He's done some funny stuff. He's a comedian, and he does this little shtick. And our boy Zach was on it last year, where basically he just got completely. It was a complete hit piece. They just tore him to shreds. Character assassination 101. But recently, Jim Jeffries has kind of been in the news. Can you tell us about that, Bats?
Yeah, so a YouTuber named Avi Yemini, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He was invited on the Jim Jeffries shows pretty much a similar way that Zach was. And he's a conservative YouTuber. And so and I'm looking at his channel right now, he's got 85,000 subs. 185,000 subs. And he said in his video that he's willing to come on the show with 2 exceptions. He wants the interview to be in full and not to be edited and switched around. So using different answers into different questions to make him look bad. And he doesn't want any footage of anti-Semites or neo-Nazis attached to any clip that he's on in the same show, because he doesn't want to give them any recognition or any power. Well, in the first 20 seconds of the Jim Jeffries clip, they broke both rules. So little did Jim Jeffries know, Avi had set up his phone as a hidden camera, kind of just set his phone aside, and has a full video, an hour-long clip. He said it's only for his Patreons, but he's going to break it up into clips and share it on his YouTube. And yeah, there's a good clip in there where Jim was making some is what's the word, Islamophobe uh, remarks, and he goes, it's not going to look good on camera. He's like, oh no, we edit this out. I never look bad in these interviews. Like, oh, cool.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it looks like CG's kind of running with this a little bit. I know Ethan's made a video and a couple other people's made a videos, but I think like Zach was saying in a video today, it's like everyone knew that it was a big hit piece, and it didn't make any difference. Even like his Twitter enemies all knew it was horse shit to begin with, and so you know everyone's like kind of just moved on. you know but yeah, Jim Jeffries is pretty much caught being an idiot.
Wow. I wonder if this will have any effect, or if all the left will just like turn a look away and just pretend
I
like this never happened and just be like,
Yeah,
oh,
I'm sure it'll never happen, or they'll just won't renew the next season.
well, I mean, it's sad for me. Like, one of the bad things about this country that's just embarrassing is that so many of our people just get their news from Comedy Central. Like,
Hmm.
it's they listen to these comedians and take that as like the facts. And not only should you not be getting your news from comedians, you really shouldn't be getting your news from comedians who get caught cutting and making up lies. Like,
Hmm.
but with all the lies that CNN and the other mainstream media outlets all do, and they get caught over and over and over, like, just facts, proof, you lied about this, facts, you lied about this, like, and just like they just brush it right off. It's like water off a duck's back. It's almost like, no, what, we're not lying. We'll just keep going, keep doing the same thing. And it amazes me that there's just not more call out to this. Like, dude, it seems like 20 years ago, if this would have happened, it would have shut the channel down. But anyways, today it just nothing happens. Like, oh yeah, you made up a bunch of lies and stuff. Oh no, biggie, just keep going. We'll just ignore it. All right, so I think that covers the news. Anything else before we move on?
Nah.
Nah. Okay, well, I do have something real quick. I just posted in the chat, our Discord. Uh, I started a Discord server that Bats helps me out with, and it's not really supposed to be like for me. It's supposed to be like a community thing. Um, and I named it Comic Talk, but not really happy. I don't think that's the perfect name. So I'm open to ideas for a better name. But that's the comic server. Bats and I are on it. Our friend Quirks is on it. I've been meaning actually to invite Oz Chris because Tehalim is a friend of ours. He's on it, and I know Oz Chris is on his server. Blah blah blah. Anyways, it's a way of networking. So you guys are all invited to come there. We do an after show party on there, so you guys can all participate and talk after the show's over. If you want to keep talking, because Bats and I love to keep talking after the show. And then just throughout the week, talk about comics and things, and not have to rely on Twitter, because Twitter can just be an awful place, as we all know. So that's the Discord invite. Please come on over, say hello. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to bring them up. And I also just wanted to ask about this Brewbreaker Captain America, since we were talking about it. Let me see if I can. Why can't I get this to work? Bats. Wait, I shouldn't go to you for technical support. Great. Great. Here, I'll just share my screen. All right. So, I want to know if this is the right one. Captain America 2004 to 2011, Winter Soldier Volume 1. So, because there's other Captain America Ed Brubakers as well, and so I'm not sure which are the right ones.
I'll help. I can help you out with that when the time comes.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
So, what's next, Bats? Keep us on track.
So do you have any picks of the week? Any comics that you've been reading this week?
Comics I've been yeah. Man, I've been reading this week all a bunch of shit comics. It's terrible.
I noticed.
Um which by the way, um you guys, if anyone wants to help out my channel, and if you have digital copies of books and you want to see me read them or do reviews of them, please get in contact me. If you buy a book, you have a digital code, and you don't want it, send it my way. I have had help in the past from other people. It's
Such
helped
as
me get other
myself.
books to review. Um, I am
I sent Ash all my digital codes of films because I collect DVD slash Blu-ray, and I was like, I'm like, what am I gonna do with this piece of paper? I'm not gonna download a movie. That's stupid. So I just give it to Ash.
he doesn't know what he's doing. Um,
No, I'm not very tech savvy. It's a by God's grace I have a YouTube channel.
so I just want to throw that out there real quick. If anyone is listening, they do have them. Please remember that. Um, so I haven't really been reading any books. I've just been reading all these Wonder comics, like catching up, and part of it's really good because it enables me to uh, get a perspective. I think one of the things I was having a problem with my channel was like I was only reading good books,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's like then you start reading these bad books, and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't want my channel to constantly just be, hey, here's another good book, here's another good book, 200 comics later, here's another good book. I want to like mix it up. Here's an average book. Here's a good book. Here's a terrible book. You know, here's an outstanding book. By the way, shout out Hawkman. If you guys aren't buying Hawkman, buy Hawkman.
You
Hawk.
see Dave Asanowich's meme that he made?
Yeah. I
That's
retweeted it.
cracking me up.
Hawkman is the best comic right now, and it is dying. It's like below 20,000 copies. Don't let the best comic in comics get canceled. Spread the word. And you guys, and you probably already do this. If you're on Twitter, remember to retweet stuff that is put out. Like things don't go viral, things don't get spread around. You know, I only have a handful of followers. Bats. Like, I'm not reaching tens of thousands of people. Like by
Mm-hmm.
retweeting these things is how we spread information. And comics, I want to just send out a friendly reminder to people because everyone knows this, but we just don't always think about it all the time. That comics don't have really good marketing. People don't know about it. The only way people really like comics grow is one thing, we're trying to grow the industry, but even within the industry, the good comics is spread word of mouth. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's the way to share your excitement and go, oh my god, I love this book. You got to get it. And you know, then you get people like me who are like going to buy a Spider-Man comic for the first time in 25 years because someone spread word of mouth to me and convinced me, Ash, you need to check this book out. And I'm like, okay, I will. Like, because I really do want good comics. And I think all you guys just want good comics too. I think that's all we want. But we just don't do a good job as a whole spreading that enthusiasm. And so I just want to take this little PSA moment to remind you guys to do that and share these books and, you know, just not all the books because you overwhelm. If everyone's just like, every book is great, then it's just like nothing stands out. So that's all. Uh, Thank you, Melissa, for giving us a like to help the channel. Everything helps. You have to
That's
go, your
better
phone's
than a
dying.
super chat.
Plug it in, girl. Get yourself a plug.
Plug it in, plug it in.
All right. What else we got going on?
So speaking of good comics, how about Ninjak?
Ninjak. All right. That is the feature presentation of the day. Let me see if I got Chrome working right yet.
Nothing but professionalism over here.
Yep. Oh, we do. Oh.
uh, who
Transition
was it?
there.
Was it Breen or was it David Sonwich who said that they? No, it was David. It was Eric Breen. Eric Breen was like, I know Eric Breen read it, started it, because he said that's dope. The first two pages or first two issues were dope.
Of which book? Hawkman?
No, of Ninjak. I know
Oh,
he.
Ninjak. Yes.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
are
Ninjak was dope, according to
dope.
Eric.
Well,
He's making fun of me because I always say dope.
yeah. I used to always say
Dope,
dope. I'm probably going to get
dope
sucked
and
back into
tight.
saying dope again because of you.
Yeah, I got you to say hella. Just...
Once, and you weren't supposed to repeat that.
Sorry.
Oh, hey, Bat, since I'm sharing my screen right now. Oh, you can't see my screen. Why is my screen not being...
Your screen is a beautiful picture of Sergeant Bass on screen.
There we go. Speaking of which, I just did some purchases on ComiXology because they had a they had a big Batman sale in line. I tweeted about it. I picked up 3 books. These are the 3 books I picked up.
Okay, so you got the Darwin Cook.
Cook Ego. I thought that sounded like a good purchase. It's normally like $39 or something stupid. It was like less than 5.
Yeah, that's
Batman Dark Knight Master Race. I'm a Frank Miller junkie, and also All-Star Batman and Robin. Same reason, because these were Frank Miller books that came out when it was out of comics. So, and also when Marvel had a big sale, I think I tweeted this out too, but this we're talking about Captain America a minute ago. Eric Breen. I'm gonna check out that Brubaker book because of you.
Oh yeah, so I was looking at the Brubakers really quick. It looks like they have the first 2 volumes, so it goes up to issue 14 available, and then from 15 to 24 are not available on ComiXology Unlimited, but then from 25 to 30 it's unlimited, and then from 31 all the way to the end of the series is not unlimited.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out.
So like they got 3 pieces of like a 15 story arc, masterpiece essentially.
So
yeah, Brubaker was on the book for like 10 years.
Yeah, that's why I was confused, because I looked up, I was like, Captain America, Brubaker, like all these different books. I was like, geez. But speaking of Captain America, so these are the books I bought recently. I also picked up this Captain America series, which I have the real covers somewhere buried in my comic collection that I haven't touched in 25 years. This is the best Captain America book I have ever read in my entire life. And it's what made me a fan of Captain America, because I used to, like Hawkman, I used to think Captain America was stupid. It's a dude running around with a shield. I didn't understand. And Eric Breen, you've probably read this because you are a super knowledgeable comic dork like us. But if anyone hasn't, this is like Batman Year One. This is what was for Batman. That's what this is for Captain America. It is astonishing. So I just wanted to promote that. The rest of this stuff is either free or donated stuff that I got.
Your Weeb is showing with that manga starter pack.
It was free.
Your Weeb is showing.
It was free. It's not
Hey,
Weeb.
look at that Young Justice.
Yeah, someone donated Young Justice. Oh, this Young Justice was free, the Peter David one. But I got my Naomi. Someone gave me a Teen Titans and a Flash. I wonder who that was. All right, so you guys didn't come here for that. So I'll go to my books. Where's my books? I think I know how to use this. I use it on the app. Borrowed. I know I borrowed this book. Oh, there it is.
Melissa Harris says Spider-Man life story turned Peter Parker into an un-American draft dodger.
Well, here's the thing, Melissa. Peter Parker was not a good kid. So it's important when you're looking at this book that we don't look at it through the lens of today. And what I'm saying about that is, obviously comics have been poisoned by SJWs and all this stuff, right? We recognize that. But it's easy when we look through something in the past through the lens of today to see it in a different context than it was. Peter Parker was originally written as an asshole. Remember, Peter Parker is the guy who let his uncle die because he couldn't be bothered to stop this criminal guy, even though he had superpowers. Like, he's like, whatever. And then Uncle Ben dies, and he's like, oh shit. Peter Parker has a life-changing moment that fundamentally turns this liberal, whiny baby. Like, Peter Parker was a liberal. He was a whiny baby, liberal, crybaby. Like, he's a bully. Zach just recently did a cool video. If you want to check out Comics Matters, or I hate that name.
People know who Zach is.
Yeah. Anyways, he did a video about bullies and stuff, and how we mistake Flash Thompson today as like a bully, but that's actually not the case. Peter Parker was kind of the bully. Flash Thompson was just like the cool guy, and that Peter Parker had a problem with because Peter Parker had social problems, like he was maladjusted, right? Now Peter Parker grew out of this and he becomes a hero, and that's part of what makes Spider-Man so great, is that he rises above all these things. But he started off in a bad place, and in this book in the 60s, being a draft dodger and all this stuff, first of all, being a draft dodger, I don't disrespect anyone that dodged Vietnam War. That was a bullshit war that people were being sent off to die for political reasons. And we're defending freedom or anything. But be that as it may, we're looking at it through the lens of today. It's not the same. You got to try to look at it through the 60s. And I think from what little I've seen, Chip Zdarsky did his research, and that's what's kind of impressed me. And one of the reasons I'm going out to buy this book is I was like, wow, you did enough research to understand what 60s Spider-Man was all about, or at least 60s Peter Parker was all about. So anyway, enough on that. I'll read it myself and give you my honest review. Hopefully people trust me enough that they realize that I don't bullshit them. Ninjak 1, 2, 3, and 4. Except there's 5. There it is, 5. Now, I'm going to be honest. I did not read the supplemental stories in these.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I got behind, and I just decided I'm just going to read the main thing. So I will let you...
They're pretty important.
Yeah. I'll let you supplement the stories. So Ninjak, also known as Ninja K. This is
no, that's a new thing. That's a new thing. He's been Ninjak forever.
It's true, but this is the reboot. So
yeah,
this is the first story of the all-new Valiant, and he's been rebooted. I, for one, am glad they call him Ninja K. They call him both. I mean, they still call him Ninjak, but I like that the reason they call him Ninjak is because it's Ninja K. I always thought Ninjak was dumb otherwise. This is by Matt Kent, who is doing the phenomenal X-O-Man War right now for Valiant, and Clay Mann, who might be one of the best artists in comics ever. Now this is earlier stuff, so he's rougher.
I really liked Clay Mann here, where if you listen to what I had to say about him in what's that crappy story called? Heroes in Crisis. I literally forgot what it was called for a second. I'm like, I know it has Crisis in it. I did not like him. He just felt like a big downer and boring and just generic. But here he really shined to me.
Well, he's got a better story to work with.
Yes.
And he has action. Tom King just decided he was going to write a gigantic event miniseries that has no action. It's like, I'm going to write a superhero book. We're 6 issues in and yet to have any action. So, anyways, this is Clay Mann's apparently earlier years when he's a little bit rougher, but still you can see the talent. And it's just like, how does Valiant have like the best writing, the best artists? How is it that this book looks like this and Marvel still looks like dog shit? So we we start off with ninja scene. I keep going forward, and this book was a little confusing on the narrative. I have to admit, at least in the beginning. And we see guys training, and oh, it turns out it's a movie. You, I let live to send a message. Go on, get going. We see this kid is just like, I love this shot here where the kid's putting popcorn in his mouth, just like lost in the movie. That reminds me of myself. And then we fast forward to today, and Ninjak field debriefing from Neville Alcott MI6, and we see a guy bleeding and dying, and then there's this video recording of some woman. This all remind me actually kind of a manga a little bit, the way this was all done.
Yeah, this book was like a combination of many things that I like.
Yeah, this whole opening part, very manga-esh to me. Um, and we see this woman who's we identify as this big bad person, or bad I mean by being a threat, really deadly threat. Early reports indicate that she took out most of the Russian guards by simply suggesting via the intercom that they kill themselves. The prison was kept at sub-zero temperatures in an effort to slow her metabolism. She has no clothes, no weapons, just her body and her mind. In addition to being a weapons and martial arts expert, she is a communications and electronics savant. She is in every way either your equal or your superior. And this is the briefing that Ninjak's getting. Roku was too dangerous to transport, so they built a prison around her at her current location. Under the current conditions, we estimate her total incarceration time in the Russian portable prison to be less than 2 hours. So they're sending Ninjak in, and he's like, is all this supposed to impress me? And Ninjak is probably like one of the most badass peoples in the Valiant universe. This is a guy who is part James Bond, part Batman, and all super ninja. Like, just...
Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying, is that I don't really ever talk about this, but when I was younger, I was really into Bond. I was really into Bond, especially and also Batman. So when I was reading this, I was like, "Oh, this is Bond meets Batman with ninjas." I love all three of these things.
Right?
like you, if they just threw a giant monster in there, this would have been perfect for me. Like Batman, Bond, ninjas, and giant monsters. Like you could have just like sold me with that 100%. And I was like, and there's a hot redhead.
I know this is over the top, but this scene right here, Bats is like, I'm sold.
Yeah, I was too. She reminded me of a character who I can't remember her name right now, but in the Chuck Dixon run of Nightwing, there's a redhead who had a similar design, and I was like, oh, it's that chick. But like, she was also like a ninja with like cloth.
So we see Ninjak showing up, and he's like, is all this supposed to impress me? And her response is, who cares? She just kicks up a gun into her hand, and then she shoots at him, sideways, of course. And he blocks a bullet. And then she comes at him, and we get this cool fight scene to just open up the book, and you're just like, whoa. And that's not really important to the overall story, so we're just going to click through it. And you find out his mission is to let her go. And so he does. He frees her, blows up the facility, and then we go back in time then. And this whole book is told through a series of flashbacks. And I really like the way that it was done. They tell the story. You have this ongoing mission that Ninjak's going through, but then you get these flashbacks of when he was a boy, kind of developing who he was. And he has a very Bruce Wayne-ish sort of thing going on, but like with a twist. And here we see this is his castle, by the way. So,
which is a part of the Ninjak mythos, because Slowly reading the old Ninjak series.
Uh, well, the old Ninjak series won't really.
Not relevant, but
Not yeah.
it's
It's
part
like
of the mythos. Like he has a castle,
yeah.
Neville.
It's all previous continuity.
Yeah,
Um, so
purple suit.
so he's trying to infiltrate this secret society essentially of powerful beings. So it's like the Shadow Seven, and this big fat guy right here is one of them.
It's body positivity guy.
And what's interesting about this book to me, first of all, I'm like you. I love Bond, and I like Batman, but I love Bond and I love espionage. And one of the things that really kind of drew me into this book is, like I've created comic book characters, and it sucks because a lot of the comic book characters I've created over time, people like have created similar characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, what the hell? Well, one of the characters I created a long time ago, back in the late '80s, early '90s, probably around 1990 actually. I had a character that was very similar to Ninjak, except that he was actually Japanese ninja, but he was just a super ninja like Ninjak, and he worked for an espionage group. And so now I'm just like, I never could realize this character now because everyone would just call him Ninjak. But anyway, all that serves is to tell my point of like I love these type of stories. Now here we see a previous then thing where this boy, his parents are missing or whatever, and he lives with his, I don't know if this guy's his butler or
It's like his evil butler.
Yeah, it's like evil Alfred. Like,
Yeah.
and you see him with the belt here, and he's just like, your parents won't be home for another week, Colin. Do try to behave, won't you? And so he's going to get a beat down. And that's actually relevant to the story because in part of his job to infiltrate this den of whatever the society is, that he has to fully commit to the bit. He's got to do things that will prove his loyalty, And one of the things is he's got to take a beating, and you can see as a kid how he was able to take a beating. So this is one of the lost files. Each book has a lost file thing in it.
Yeah, so they're just kind of like 5, 6, 7 page just backup stories. But what's good about them is they fill in between the childhood and the Ninjak era. So these Lost File stories are essentially him becoming a part of MI6. So you get to meet this woman who's his they call it a handler,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much like he's a trainee in the spy game, and so she's kind of training him in becoming a spy. And as each story progresses, uh, and as each one goes by, they start to fall in love with each other, as one would do in regular comic books that's not written by weirdos.
Oh, wow. There's heterosexual relationships?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Who would have thunk it, huh? It's crazy. The guy who's like Batman and James Bond fell in love with a woman.
Wow.
Crazy.
All right.
I'm shaking. I'm so mad.
So I did not read these. I have every intent to go back and read them. I was really kind of on a time sink, and I was like, this is not part of the main thing. I'm committed to read the main story, which I will do so I can review it. And like I suspected, Bats actually did his homework, and so he could cover that. So I'm going to try to just blow past this. Here's some scenes of where he has to commit to the bit, and the guy gives him a gun and says, find someone, anyone, I don't care, in this room, and kill him. And so he's just like,
I like his technology with the probes, and they kind of have like essentially like Google goggles or Google Glass.
Yeah, he's got these contacts that let him like access like computer stuff, and so he had done his homework, and he had put these drones in there, so he's got facial recognition, and he finds like the three most evil people, and here's where they get the flashbacks. The three most evil people in the room, right? That he's just like, well, these people can die, I guess. Because you're just like, what's he gonna do? That's not very heroic. He's got to kill someone. But then I was reading it, I was like, you know what? This isn't really a hero book. This is a spy thriller. Like, he's not supposed to be a hero. So
I kind of had that same thought too, as we got around here.
I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm okay with that then. But even then, he still tries to find a way to do, he's like, well, I'm just going to kill like the most bad. I was like, okay, well, I'll deal with that. But then, even then, he finds this guy and he starts talking about, it's like, simple matter of, I got ahead of myself. He's like, oh, come on, stupid ComiXology. The scan suggests 3 ideal targets. I had anticipated 5 different trust building scenarios that Cannon would use to test me. This was the easiest one. And he looks, it's like simple matter of geometry and physics. He probably doesn't deserve to die, but with proper aim and a low caliber bullet, it'll bounce off his skull and ricochet up harmlessly into the foliage. Head wounds traditionally produce massive amounts of blood. This guy's a bad guy, but he'll live and serve his purpose. So like, he's so smart and like good at what he does. He's able to shoot a guy in the head in such a way that he doesn't kill him. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And the way the story was told was done in a fashion that felt believable. So here's the girl that he saved earlier, and her whole thing, her hair is like, she can control her hair, and it's like razor wire. It's it'll slice you to pieces.
Very manga.
Very manga, yeah. But I mean, I guess I'll buy it. We're living in a world of superheroes. And we have this whole story part when he's a kid and the parents don't come back, and so he's like, you're just stuck with me, and the kid's like, oh. And then we see this thing about like he's pouring
this scene really made me laugh too.
He's pouring the tea and the kid's just looking, and the guy sniffs, got this like this dead look, and he puts the tea down. It's like, wait a second, what have you done, Colin? What are you up to? I can see it all over your face. So he punishes him, and he goes through, and just, you can see like this building the hardship in this character. There's a lot of detail I'm not really going to cover in this book. I think you guys should read it. I'll spoil early my thoughts. It's a good book, honestly.
We're 3 for 3 on these damn Valiant books.
It's a good book. Valiant at this point in their tenure, if that's the right term to use, they just were knocking it out of the park.
A little context too. What was funny is that when I was going through a little bit of financial problem at the time, but around 2013, I was back on my feet doing well, and I asked my buddy at the shop, I'm like, anything cool you think I would like? And he's like, the new Valiant stuff's really good. I'm like, Valiant's stupid. Like no one likes Valiant. He's like, whatever. You don't want to buy it, don't buy it.
Yeah, this is really one of the points.
Now I'm kind of wishing like us like could be that guy who's been like going, Valiant has been great for 7 years while Marvel has fallen to the tubes. Like.
Yeah, this is one of those things. That's why it's so important to get word of mouth out, because Valiant's a little company, right? They don't have the ability to promote books, and people love their DC and their Marvel, and getting people who love their mainstream comics to venture out to like a third party, it's easy to find people who love Pepsi and Coke, but you're just like, no, try RC Cola, and they're just like, what? Like, no, and this analogy works for me because RC Cola is my favorite. So, but a lot of people are just like, whatever, like that's this B grade stuff, and they think of Valiant that way. But here, look at this picture I have up on the screen for Evar Time Walker. I don't know shit about Evar Time Walker, but I'm looking at this going, look at this art. Holy crap.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, what is this? This looks badass. I want to read this.
Yeah, like Marvel is just, this is better art right here than the War of the Realms. I saw some sneak preview pages for War of the Realms, the actual series. Their big headline event of the year, War of the Realms, does not even have art this good. Like, why don't they sell? We gotta spread word of mouth on the good stuff. Now, unfortunately, these are comics from, I think this one was back from 2013. So, now we can just enjoy the past. But when good stuff like this is out, we got to promote it. So what happens is that whole scene of the tea was important because he poisons the wine that Cannon was drinking, and he's trying to infiltrate. And the whole thing is he can't kill this guy because then the other 6 will kind of go underground and, they'll be ready. So he's trying to infiltrate and not have anyone be aware. So he's got to do this stuff. So he knocks the guy out. He uses this poison that's going to knock him out for like 30 minutes. And then he gets in his ninja outfit and he's going to go do something. And then, of course, the number 1 bodyguard chick shows up and they get in this fight and he gets knocked out the window. And they had a really cool scene I liked where he was just like, infiltrate Weaponeer, the largest illegal dealer in the world? Check. Compromise the security of Weaponeer, CEO Cannon? Check. Steal Cannon's identity and leave him penniless? Check. Live to tell about it? Still on the to-do list. It's like he's fallen. And you're just like, what the hell? And one thing that this book does really well, and that Matt does also and equally is an EXO, is this tension. I was constantly feeling tension because here we have this time limit. It's like 30 minutes. He's got to be back, right? And not only has he got to be back, he's probably got to be back and not bleeding and stuff to where the guy's like, wait a minute, why are you all cut up? So he's fighting this girl and he's got to deal with her, do the mission, and then get back when the boss wakes up and the guy doesn't, realize anything even happened. And so we're constantly getting reminders during this fight of like, that leaves a couple minutes left. And so one of the things we just saw is he looked at the building and saw like, oh shit, there's cameras. So now on top of doing his mission, he's got to like break back in and erase the camera feed. So he just like adds all this stuff. Like, how are you going to pull this thing off? And this book is actually very simple compared to EXO and Bloodshot, which I feel like had deeper stories. This is just a simple like espionage mission. It's almost like equates to, how every James Bond movie, like the first 10 minutes shows James on some little mission before the real movie starts. Yeah. This whole book is like that. It's like, this is that mission. And it's simple, but yet it's so well executed that you're just like, oh, I'm in for the ride. Tons of action, some tension. How is he gonna pull this off? And then he deals with the girl, lands. He's like, okay, 6 minutes, 45 seconds. The time's ticking. Just need to erase the surveillance vid. And then these guys, he's like lands from. I'm like, can we help you? I could use a light. And so we get a flashback back to Evil Alfred. Don't know what to call him. He plants a bomb in this car. And he's like, oh, why did you leave his toys laying around? And then it's like fucking lights him on fire. You're just like, whoa, Jesus, dude. And then the boy goes out to the woods and it's like watching the fire burn. Then back to the action. You're like, wow. 6 minutes, 10 seconds. Hands up slowly. So these guys, realize like, oh shit, we got to deal with him. As good Yakuza members would do. And then he lights him on fire. And the then and nows, you can see how they tie in. How he used the things, the inventiveness as a boy with his skills as now an assassin. And back to then. And he's like, Evil Alfred's searching for him out in the woods. You can come back home, blah, blah, blah. You got to just face your actions. You can't stay out here forever. And then, of course, he does. He's like hunting game. And the seasons go by. You're just like, damn. And then back to now. And he's still fighting and dealing with all this stuff. And the time's ticking down. And it works really well also, considering that it has like 10 minutes, right? I think the time frame goes like you have 10 minutes to do this. But it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to read a comic book. So it feels like real time. So that tension really kind of works. It's neat. Sorry, I had to cough there and mute it. But so now he finishes the whole thing, and now he's like, okay, now I just gotta wrap up my wounds. He's in the bathroom, gotta put my tie back on, get back to the boss. He's like 5 seconds. Gets back 3. Now the only thing that was a little bit weird is like, I don't know if like you could time someone being knocked out by poison down to the second. Like you knock someone out, you can say, he'll be out for approximately half an hour to an hour. But like exactly 30 seconds he'll be down. That seems kind of, or
Yeah.
30 minutes to be down. That's weird. But
I mean, unless he is the guy who like was like, oh, I could shoot this guy in the back of the head and it'll be fine. So he might be so good. He's like knows his weight and knows how long.
but even still, like even with that, you can't predict. The best anesthesiologist in the world can't narrow down how exactly. But it's a comic book, so I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not gonna nitpick that. But it did stand out to me. I was like, really, really. But anyway, so it's like 3, 2. And it's like, Cannon, everything okay? I don't know. You tell me, Ninjak. And he's like, uh-oh. He looks at the girl. Then we get a Lost File story that I didn't read because I'm bad.
I mean, which is cool now is you can go back and you kind of get like a it's like almost one issue because combined.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, combined. So yeah, this is where they have sex and they fall in love.
So here's another Valiant book of the time, Imperium. Don't know what that's all about, but you get a couple preview pages, and while the art isn't quite as impressive to me, it's still pretty stand out for a small little indie company. And then, Jesus, bigger preview than I remember. Okay, so fast forward. Here's a cool cover. Valiant. So number 4 has sort of the origin story of Roku.
Mm-hmm.
And this threw me off at first. It was like, so we left off, it's like, okay, they know he's Ninjak. And then we hear this, this man is not who he claims to be. I know him. We have met before. I remember his scent. He tries to mask it, but I can sense his thoughts as well. Blah, 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 blah. And then I turn like the page and the art all of a sudden changes. And it threw me off because, as you can see, these books have like previews and backstories and all stuff. I'm like, am I reading like another one of these like lost stories? And I kept going. I was like, I guess not. And I didn't know who any of this was, and the art was different. And it turns out that it's Roku, and this is where she comes from. She used to be blonde. And they bury her. They do some stuff to her, and it doesn't actually really explain at all like how she has these powers. You just know that these weird monks did shit to her, and she faces these Oni, and she ends up having to fight them. And they have this whole story about how she breaks free and gets to where she is, and it was okay. Like, I guess knowing a little bit more about her was cool. But it didn't do that much.
Yeah, I'm on the same level.
You could have skipped that and not missed a beat. Like, I don't think you needed that at all. Like, I was like, okay, I'll take it. It's free. Like, but
my guess is they needed to catch Clayman up or something.
Yeah, maybe they didn't have enough. Yeah, maybe. But anyway, so they talk about it's because of this I know him from somewhere. His sin is familiar. He is not who he claims to be. I recognize your training. You dishonor it. What is your real name? Tell me before you die. So yeah, Clayman got to get away with drawing 2 pages. And then we have this lost story, which is the monks, and I'm guessing that ties in at all. I didn't read it.
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit of Canon's origin.
Oh, okay. So now book 5 actually picks up where you thought book 3 was leaving off to. Is after that filler story of book 4, and all this extra stuff you get in the digital copies, kind of nice, but it makes a pain to flip through. By the way, that black and white art looks way better
Mm-hmm.
of that. Jeez. Um, Sometimes colorists mess up books. So, so they get in a fight, and we get a flashback again. Like, the boy comes back. He's like, "I was worried about you." Oh, are you okay?
Real quick. Did
Yeah.
you read those first page of his gadgets and stuff?
I just skimmed him.
Okay, I was really into that. I was like, this is cool. I like this. It's a little extra world building.
Yes, they did that with Bloodshot too.
Mm-hmm. See, I skipped those in Bloodshot.
Oh, yeah, you should go back. I love that they have that stuff. I just because this was a homework assignment, I was like, I got to get this done. I'm behind. That was my bad.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay? You seem to have scratched yourself. Do tell me you haven't been making trouble. And he's like rubbing his cheek or whatever, and he just puts his hand on him. Don't put your hand on me again. Oh, Colin's grown up. Ever. Where are they? The study? Yes, sir. So it's like, finally, it's like he recognizes. I don't know. I thought this was really interesting. It didn't go where I thought it was gonna go, and it's almost like evil Alfred is like, all right, the boy's becoming a man. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
he's growing up. So we get awesome more fight scenes. You do not, you do not get a lack of fight scene action in in these books at all. As a matter of fact, we get to see Cannon actually join the fight. He actually calls off his his assassin and starts fighting himself and punches Ninjak through a wall. Um, and Ninjak's breaking some ribs and stuff, but Ninjak doesn't have to beat you with brute force. He is wily and intelligent, cunning, and he puts this. I don't know what you call these, like mountain climbers that use them. They're like these like shanks that they like put in the.
Oh, I loved this scene.
Yeah, I did too. I thought
I
this was
thought
really
it was
clever.
so cool.
I forget what those things are called, but they're like you drive them into the rock so you can like anchor
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and he drives it in the bottom of the pool and then wraps some wire around it, and then like ties it around his ankle, swims around, and this guy is now tied, and he swims away and just leaves him like, oh, he's drowning. He's like, calm down, I'll come back for you in a few minutes.
Yeah, I thought that was so cool.
We get another flashback, and this time, so the parents aren't actually missing or dead, and we get to see again that intelligence. All these flashback scenes are relevant, like to like what's going on. Like, so he tricks his parents. He talks about how he was doing something in the safe room, and the dad's just like, "What? You're not supposed to be." And like, so the dad goes to investigate, and the whole time is like he's like, I've never even seen the safe room. He didn't know where it was, but by doing that, he got to follow his dad and learn the secret. Um, and we see here at the end of the story that the whole plan that he was working out, which is only the first part of the greater scheme, was to take over Cannon's position and become the head of the Weaponeer program. So now he's the CEO of the company, and now he's dealing weapons to this unscrupulous character. And he talks about like, he has to do this so he can get in deeper. And you see him plant some like nanite stuff in his blood so he can track him and do all the stuff. And it's just like the very beginning to a greater story. And he leaves a little message on this wall, which his boss ends up getting, that he only he can decode. And he says on the note, "I shipped Cannon back to you. I'm not coming back. Not until every one of the Shadow Seven is out of commission. Too dangerous to surface again. This is the last time you'll hear from me until the job is done." And so these walks goes in a room, and you see Cannon. It's like limbs have all been cut off, and he's being kept in this tank with a breather. Like, that's shitty. And he's like, "Well, Cannon, it's time to talk. We're going to get the rest of the Shadow 7. The more you tell me about it now, the easier it will be for you." And he just grins. Don't worry. The Shadow know what's coming, and they'll be ready for you and your agent. And that was just like, oh, damn, dude. Like, you're in that predicament, and you still, like, have the cojones to, like, act like that. Just be like, we got you. Don't you even, like, just like, oh, that's scary. Like, I was like, any other person would be, like, broken, at this point. And he's just like, he ain't nothing to us. I was like, that's a tough son of a bitch. And so back to the present, and we get the assassin chick, and she sees another guy, which I'm assuming is one of the Shadow. And this is where we see Colin back in the then tricking his dad to find out where the secret stuff is, and he gets in the safe room, and he finds out, oh shit, I guess his dad is some sort of badass. And you can see the look on his eyes, and then that grin at the bottom. And that is the end of the main storyline, at least without the Lost Files. I didn't read these.
Yeah, and then on the Lost Files is that if you could, you're kind of skipping past it really.
Sorry. Go ahead and talk if you want.
It's kind of, so the Lost Files have kind of led up to him being, building a secret sexual relationship with his handler, and in the last Lost File you see she's been dead, she's been killed, and basically he's going to get caught by the MI6 for having a secret sexual relationship. So he's kind of got to lie his way out of it as a spy would to the MI6, and that's pretty much the end.
Okay.
Then at the end he lies to hit the lead of the MI6, and they're like, all right, well, we're going to give you a new handler, and then it's Neville.
And Neville is the guy that he corresponds with a secret note.
Yeah. So right. Yeah, like I said, the Lost Files kind of fill between the present and the then. So it's the becoming of the agent that he becomes, So there's almost like 3 stories in there.
Well, that is the end of that book. I really liked it. I'm not seeing anyone else. Let's see if the comments. I haven't been paying attention to any of the comments. So
Eric Breen said it was dope, and he was telling Quirks or Ozchris, he's telling someone that it's one of the best books he's read in years.
Really, that's good. Yeah. That's good praise from Eric Breen. I really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it in the same level of. Oh, I'm just going to compare the other 2 Valiant books, Bloodshot and Exo. I feel were better books, but the Clayman art was stellar for one, and then there's just not other books like this. Like, they're just straight up like super espionage. And this is like James Bond comic book style. I don't think James Bond can really work well as a comic, because he's cool and all, but comics, are, I don't know. I feel like comics are just more outlandish. It relies
on the charm of a real person.
Yeah, and comics are like really outlandish. You just, and Ninjak takes what Bond does up a whole level, and turns it into like Batman, it's fantastic. This was a really fun book. I look forward to reading more. In some ways, I can recognize Matt Kint's style in the way he writes this book into the current Exo book. Even though the books are strongly different, I feel like Matt hammers down on what the core of the character is and just says, I'm just going to push that button hard, and it's just like, what makes Ninjak? What's cool about Ninjak? All right, let's just drill on that. Just don't worry about anything else. And he does the same type of thing in the Exo books. It's just like, what's cool about, Arc of Dacia, what in the X, like, what is it? Oh, it's Conan inside an Iron Man suit. Let's just fucking hammer that over and over and just give the fans like that intense experience, which I like. I think Tom King could use a little bit of that example so he can understand Batman again. But I was really happy. What do you have to say about it?
This is my first Matt Kint story, and I have gathered from this book that he is a phenomenal writer. Like I had said just earlier, that he kind of juggled three stories at once, and I really thought that was just really shined as a talent. Where I'm like, this guy needs to come over to DC. And it's funny you bring up Tom King could learn from him. I'm like, no, let's just get rid of Tom King and let's put Matt Kint on Batman.
Dude,
Like,
yeah. After reading this book, I would love to see Tom Kent on Batman. Holy shit balls.
yeah, that would be fantastic. So Ninjak is a character for me who has always been on my radar because, as you know, I have my own ninja character, and so he's always kind of been like pretty much any ninja in comics. I've always kind of had my eye on it, just so I don't step on toes, like you were talking about earlier.
Right.
And so I always wanted to read them, but I always thought Valiant was stupid because I was a big DC head. And I was like, Valiant's stupid. I've always had that mentality until about Comicsgate, where I was like, I need good comics. I'm getting like mad. I'm getting mad. I need good comics. And I have my friend who turned me on to Mike Barron. He always talks really highly of the old Jim Shooter days of Valiant. And so I kind of been dipping my toes over there. But I've been really enjoying these new 2012 Valiants that we've been doing on the same level as I like the old stuff, because as much as I appreciate new stuff, I also appreciate old stuff on an equal playing field. And so far, between old EXO and new EXO and old Bloodshot and new Bloodshot and old Ninjak and new Ninjak, it's all good so far. Like,
well, I was around when Valiant did its first run, and I was working in a comic book store. And I can remember distinctly, like, people loved Valiant. It was like the talk. Everyone was just like, oh, Valiant, you gotta get the Valiant, it's so good. And it was the first company, I think, like, that really started focusing on selling comics by story. Because back in the 80s and 90s, and I will always say, like, I feel like that's the best era of comics. It still wasn't really focusing on the writing. It was an artist era, and then we can see that with Image, the whole Image boom and stuff. But there was still great writing. It just almost like good writing was expected. It wasn't celebrated.
No, yeah, it's like when you talk about the 90s, especially the 90s, you never hear someone go, oh, Scott Lobdell was really good at this. You always hear like Rob Liefeld or Jim Lee or Eric Larson. You just hear like,
well, you heard. I mean, everyone knew, like, oh, Chris Claremont's great, and Frank
yeah,
Miller, of course,
was
like
70s.
a god. You had Alan Moore, of course, Watchmen and all his stuff, and of course, and that was Neil Gaiman was breaking out with Sandman. Like getting actual literary awards for a comic book that was unheard of until Neil Gaiman. But it was one of those things that were like, oh yeah, awesome, but it wasn't an artist. Or sorry, it wasn't a writer industry. Like, other than Frank Miller and Neil Gaiman, and no one sold books based on writing. And Marvel and DC never like really pushed their books. It wasn't like, oh, Michael Bendis is on Superman. Like, they didn't do stuff like that back then. They would do stuff like, Todd McFarlane's on Spider-Man. Oh, crap. Like, you followed artists. But Valiant was the first company to like really just push, like, okay, expect the art to just be decent, and we're going to focus on the writers rather than expect the writing to be decent and focus on the art. And it was, I just remember that. And my problem with Valiant back then was a problem of prejudice like I had with DC. I looked at Valiant and I was like, yeah, their characters are kind of cornballish. They kind of remind, they're so old school, like DC characters, which, of course makes sense because many of them were Gold Key remakes. But the art style of the books, I just felt like it didn't feel modern. It just felt old and
the Barry Windsor Smith style.
Yeah, Barry Windsor Smith, which I'm not really wasn't opposed to Barry Windsor Smith, but the way he did this stuff, and like we talk about like Marvel and DC have like their sort of their look. Well, Valiant had the same thing, like its look and its in-house style. And the in-house style of Valiant was very more of a realistic approach. It's actually very much like how modern comics, or at least in Marvel, are today, where it's like, we're not going to draw fantastic, dynamic, images. Like, we're going to draw like realistic, just people standing around. Like, I'm like, but that's not why we buy comics. I want to see crazy super action poses and fight scenes. And Valiant was more of like, let's draw realism. And I was like, nah, that's not my style. But everyone raved about how great it was, as far as like stories and all this stuff. And I was like, I have plenty of Marvel, and I'm an Image fanboy. I was like, there was no need for me. I didn't have a vacuum. Otherwise, I probably would have read Valiant back then. And then in 2011, I wasn't getting comics, so I missed it. And I wish I would have known about it when I got back into comics. I probably would be bigger into Valiant than I am today. Because as good as DC is, and DC's got some good stuff, man, we're 3 for 3 on these Valiant books.
Well, let's read Faith next.
Read which one next?
Faith.
Oh. All right, let's not ruin a good thing there, Bats.
So, what's your pick of the week?
My pick of the week, for the new book.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, now you're putting the pressure on me. I haven't thought of it yet.
You do this every week.
I know. Part of me wants to make it that.
I like to think about it throughout the week.
Well, I got busy and I procrastinated, and then I planned on doing everything today, and then my buddy's like, let's go see Captain Marvel. And I was like, all right, sounds cool. And then we just like made a day out of it, and then ended up getting back 8 o'clock, and I was like, I haven't fucking prepped anything. I haven't even read the book.
I noticed that. I was like, normally Ash is getting on me about.
I know.
Well, I was like, screw it. If he ain't doing it, then I ain't doing it. Yeah, screw it. I'll put a little something here and a little something here. Cool. Okay, I did my part.
So, I kind of want to do. Oh, that revealed the show notes. I forgot I'm sharing a screen here. Boop, boop, boop. I'm a pro. Transition. All right, so I kind of want to do. I kind of want to do that Captain America by Ed Brubaker.
I'm down.
Are you?
I am 100% down.
All right, we're gonna do that. It's gonna be. Was that Eric Breen's suggestion?
It was.
Eric Breen, congratulations. Comics Quirks right now is face palming. I can just sense it. He's like, yeah, no, Hellboy.
Hellboy.
Damn it. Sorry, Quirks, you showed up late. So Eric Breen gets priority over you. We're going to take your suggestion, bud, and I really appreciate it. We're going to read Brubaker's Captain America. Let me see if I can find that again. Get out of here. Entertain the audience while I look for this.
So yeah, I read this back. When did I read this? I think it was the same time Batman died. So at the end of Civil War, uh, I wasn't reading. I was on the. I had the same prejudice Ash had with Captain America before he went. What is that called? Sentinel of Liberty, where I was like, "Ah, he's stupid. He's American flag and a shield." So that's so old timey, even for a DC fan. And someone was like, "Nah, dude, you really got to read. You really got to read this Brubaker Captain America. If you don't like Captain America, this book will make you a Captain America fan." I'm like, all right, that's worth a shot. You know, I've given Jeff Johns that benefit of the doubt time after time and time after again, where it's like, Booster Gold, and then after Jeff Johns writes Booster Gold, I'm like, I love Booster Gold. You know, so it's and yeah, that's what this book is going to be. And I think you know they they based Captain America in the cinematic universe off the Ed Brubaker stuff. So if you like Winter Soldier the movie, you're gonna like this book. You're probably gonna like this book more. Uh, Ash says, "Keep it going, Bats. Gotta pee." Yep. Do we have a private chat for that, sir? So, uh, let's see. Eric Brain says Ash has read two female duties. Been seeing Captain Marvel. I'm surprised he's not picking Faith. Yeah, me too, Eric. Eric Brain says Ash on Comics, who's writing Bloodshot. It's oh, Dwayne Sawestaba. I don't know how to say that guy's name. It's not Trzynski. It's Dwayne. I don't know. I don't know how to say that dude's name. Here, let me see if I can find. You back, Dash?
I'm right here.
Okay, cool. Hey, Eric is asking, how do you say that guy's name who wrote Bloodshot?
Dwayne Swerzinski, I believe is how you pronounce it.
It's not Trzynski. Was I don't know. I just know when I see that combination of letters, I know who it is.
I think it's Swerzinski.
Yeah. Um, I sent you a link in the thing. I asked you to, if you wanted to, if you could pop that on screen for me,
Hold on 1 second here.
because I've been meaning to go through this myself
What did you send me a link in? Where?
in the Hangouts chat.
Okay. Uh, Behind the scenes here.
So it looks like we have person. Oh my gosh, where is it? This is not even Act 2, Act 3. Where the heck is it? Oh, there it is. Whoa, so Act 4. So,
Oh, you could have just posted this in the chat.
yeah, I just want to bring it up on screen, though, because I think it's really neat how, like, someone took the time to make this.
All right, so I posted on the address in the chat, but this is where it's taken us. Um, Someone made this checklist. You can go ahead and describe it.
So it's not okay. Yeah, it's a checklist, but someone organized the the Valiant universe, the 2012 Valiant universe by trade paperback volume. So if you wanted to be like, I want to get into Valiant, this is where you can go to and go to ComiXology and read it in this order. And it seems pretty legit. And it's a long list. It is a very long list. I believe it's up to current.
They also separate the crossovers, so that's where I'm down to, which I like a lot. It can be very difficult when you're reading trade paperbacks. Sometimes, like I'm trying to catch up on Metal right now, DC's Metal.
Yeah, and
And
they completely disorganized that book, that series, and
right, so it's
it
like,
drives me nuts.
so I gotta like, okay, I gotta read 2 parts of the first trade paperback, then I gotta go over to this other trade paperback and read 1 issue, and then like, but so here they do that for you, if you know, if you want to follow certain crossovers in the chronological order that they came out with originally. I'm sure it'll probably work if you just read the trades. I'm sure Metal would do the same thing, but for those of you that want the full experience, it's nice that someone did all this research.
Or just, was collecting every Valiant comic and was kind of organized it.
But let's say you're really hardcore and you didn't buy the trades and you got the deluxe edition hardcovers, which usually incorporate multiple trades in each one, and you want to know what reading order to read those in. They did that too. So here's the deluxe hardcover reading order. Yeah, this Reddit, leave it to Reddit to like, do the research of this sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's basically social media for people with autism.
Yeah, Reddit is a monster.
Yeah.
So I got Captain America on the screen. Epting did the art. Interesting. Some people really love Epting. He did the most. He's doing Action Comics right now, and I was like, but I think his art style seems to be very good for a Captain America.
This is a good book, man. I know this.
All right. Well, Eric suggested it. I questioned it. Bats approved it. So this is what we're reading next week. Captain America, Volume 1, Winter Soldier. A mere 167 pages. And if it sucks, you can get to blame Eric. I don't think it's going to suck, though. I think Eric knows what he's talking about.
Ed Brubaker's really good writer.
I have heard good things about Brubaker.
You haven't read it since your grand return of comics. You haven't read any of his stuff, huh?
I don't know. I'm gonna look. Back in the day when I was younger reading comics, I didn't necessarily follow by writer unless they were like a really known writer.
Well, yeah, he didn't really start buzzing until around like 99, 98, somewhere around there.
Also, a lot of writers were like writing DC back in the 80s and 90s, so I just didn't read them. It looks like this may be the case here. He wrote a bunch of Batman.
Yeah, it's
Gotham
good stuff.
Knights, and
yeah, it's good stuff.
So he's probably around. I just didn't. It was like whatever. Didn't know. Like I said, I only knew the standout writers. But I have since heard great. Oh, he wrote Dakota North. What?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, don't worry. You don't want to. Cool. I'm looking forward to this, and I'm kind of glad that we got a Marvel book in here.
We're always over here either kissing Valiant's ass or
yeah, like I want to be diverse. Diversity, Bats. It's all about diversity. We need to start promoting that.
Yeah, it's our strength.
Yeah, diversity makes us stronger. All right, we got anything else on the docket?
I don't think so.
Oh man, this is like a tight show, man. We're under 2.5 hours. Do we end it?
Yeah, I say we call it a night and jump on Discord.
Tell these guys to take a hike. Oh no, we would never do that.
No.
Well, we probably should at least address the chat. Make sure. Eric Breen mentioned earlier. He said, "Is Eternal Warrior being used at Valiant these days?"
Yes.
And well, yes and no. He's not. He doesn't have anything current.
Well, yeah, but there's Eternal Warrior in the 2012 reboot series.
Right. There is Eternal Warrior in the modern Valiant. Um, it's just not the current runs. Um, let's see. I was gonna pull up Valiant, what they're doing currently.
Nothing really stands out. Like, I am very curious about this B. Clay Moore Ninjak's book.
So here is Valiant's lineup for 2019. They got Life and Death of Toya Harada,
I flipped through that. The art was cool, but the story wasn't really
Punk
good.
Mambo, bleh. Fallen World, which involves Rai, which I'm very interested in, and then Killers, which involves Ninjak, which I'm also interested in. And then they've got a couple other. They got this book on Incursion. I don't even know what Incursion is. Does that involve Eternal Warrior?
I don't know. I know I flipped through that Japanese guy's name. One.
The Forgotten Warrior. Livewire. Don't touch this with a 10-foot pole. Um, this is SJW bullshit, nonsense, terrible writing. I did a review on issue 1, and
Is Quantum and Woody coming to an end?
I don't know. I haven't heard. I don't follow that book. Shadow Man is currently out. So here we have the releases. So they have Livewire, Shadow Man, Toy Harada, Incursion, which is a mini series. I think that involves Eternal Warrior. We got Exo Man of War, which is ending, and sadly at issue 26.
It's weird. It should be 25. They should just make 25 bigger.
Yeah. Bloodshot Rising Spirits, the new Bloodshot series. Then we got this Forgotten Queen, which I didn't even pick up because it looks stupid.
We didn't have it in the shop, but I thought it looked kind of neat.
Did you?
Yeah,
I wish you would
it
have.
looked red. It looked like like Red Sonja ish.
Oh.
So I wanted to flip through it, but we didn't get it, so I couldn't flip through it. It wasn't any guarantee I was gonna buy it, but I wanted to flip through it. I'm very much into flipping through books. Even
So
if I'm not gonna buy it, I'm just like I want to see what it looks like.
the one thing that really bothers me about Valiant, I think modern Valiant's dropping the ball that old Valiant didn't do, is that modern Valiant isn't doing ongoing titles. Essentially every series is a mini series.
Uh-huh.
And I don't like that. I just give me a book, keep it going, and look, okay, so Matt Kent is stopping his EXO run. Throw a new dude on. Keep it going. There's no reason you need to stop this book. If it's not good enough, I may jump off, but maybe I'll keep going. Establish some weight behind your comics, It's amazing to me when I left comics, Image was still really new and Spawn was I don't know, 20s or 30s. And I never imagined that, McFarlane talked a big game. He always wanted to do 300 issues of Spawn. That was his whole thing. I'm going to do 300 issues. And I was like, yeah, right, you are.
He's coming up to it.
I know. And I fast forward now and I'm like, I've been out of comics 25 years. I come back and I'm like, holy shit, Savage Dragon is still going. Spawn is, these comics are in their 200s and something. To me, that was it's astounding. Because I was out of it and to see these things I just never thought were going to happen, but it adds gravity and weight to these books. It's not like my favorite stuff in Image was Wildcats, but it lasted like 30 issues and then was done. And now it's like lost in history because you didn't stick with it. But even though Savage Dragon sells for shit, the fact that Eric Larson is stuck with it it's cemented its place in like comicdom. You know, he's about to hit 300 issues too.
You know, it's funny is that at one point, like I think it was like 2012, I remember Todd McFarlane saying it in an interview that he's like, well, I'm gonna try to do his voice. He's like, yeah, Spawn is the highest numbered book because Marvel and DC keep rebooting everything, so I get to. And then like, you know, when Rebirth came out, they're like, not anymore. We're putting Batman and Superman back to the 900 numbers, which is, you know, rightfully so. But
It is
it's
funny. I never would have thought back then that the comic industry would look like today. Like I just never. When I came back to comics and I'm like, wow, Amazing Spider-Man's about to hit 800. That's nuts. That's nuts. I was buying Spider-Man like you know, the 200s.
well, at one point there was 3 a month.
Well, no, not Amazing though, was there?
No, yeah, Amazing Spider-Man. What they did is this is the one more day crap. So they got rid of Spectacular and they got rid of like Peter Parker or whatever, Web of whatever, because there was, and so they just threw them all on Amazing Spider-Man, and so they had like 4 writers working on Amazing Spider-Man, putting out a new Spider-Man comic 3 times a month.
Oh wow.
And so the numbers just started stacking really fast.
Well, even still, I mean, X-Men managed to get. I mean, it was gone by the time I came back, but I was like, X-Men managed to get into the 500s.
Isn't Tim Seeley writing that Bloodshot story?
Oh, I don't know. No, he's not writing the current Bloodshot story.
No, but the next one.
I don't know. They haven't announced the next one. They're running a current one.
Okay. Who's the artist on Bloodshot right now?
I'm trying to find. So here we got Bloodshot Rising Spirit, writer Kevin Graveau, artist Harvey Tolibau.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Never heard of them. I'm sure they're great. I'm sure like 5 years from now, I'll be like, oh, I should have picked up that Bloodshot book.
Yeah, I don't like the new trade dresses too. I think Valiant was doing something really. I loved the way, like this Exo Man of War with this big. I didn't like it at first. I was like, oh, it looks all tacky and it covers so much, but it grew on me. They did that with Bloodshot. They did Exo and Ninjak, and then now they're turning away from it. And I was like, oh man, these really stood out on the shelf. But that's Valiant. Valiant Entertainment sets their sights on new Bloodshot series. Is this what you're talking about?
Maybe.
Oh yeah, Tim Seeley, Brett Booth.
Yeah, Brett Booth. I'm gonna pick that up. Yeah, I remember I saw that on Twitter.
Locked and Loaded, starting September 2019.
I'm a big fan of both of those guys. Like, I like Tim Seeley a lot, and I like Brett Booth's art. Brett Booth is really good to me.
You like Tim Seeley? He's a total SJW.
I know, but he writes good books.
Does he?
So, yeah, he does.
All right.
Yes, there really hasn't been anything I haven't disliked by Tim Seeley. Yeah, he's a total SJW.
I feel like I've read some Tim Seeley recently, and I was just like, oh.
What is he writing? What is he writing right now? Nothing that I'm reading, I think, right now.
Well, they're gonna have a Bloodshot comic for Free Comic Book Day. So there's that.
Nice.
I wanted to see where they listed their new stuff because they had these books, like I just had to do. Oh, so Fallen World, I think, is Dan Abnett. So I'm gonna be picking that up because I like Rye. There was another book I was like, oh, that looks awesome. Then I saw, oh, B. Clay Moore is doing it, and I was noping out. I don't know what it is. I think it might have been that Ninja one, the one you were interested in. This one. You still with me, Bats? Your mic muted, probably. I'll just keep talking. Yeah, so here we go. Killers. This one looked really interesting. I like the cover. I love the snake eyes looking dude in the middle. And I like this cover here. It's like Ninja A, 1945, deceased. Ninja E, 1963, disappeared. Ninja K, 2019, disavowed. B. Clay Moore, Fernando Dagnino. And I was like, oh man, why does that have to be B. Clay Moore?
It's worth flipping through at the shop, though.
Oh yeah. But this, Dan Abnett and Adam Polina, Fallen World. I'll be picking that up. Retake Your Future. But I don't like how they do all these miniseries. I just want an ongoing. I just want a couple books I can just buy and just keep. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Oz Chris says Tim Seeley's Nightwing Rebirth series was pretty good. His Shatterstar was meh. Eric Breen says Tim Seeley will not do a good Bloodshot, calling it right now. I'm going to bet with Eric Breen, but I'm going to give him a chance.
Brett Booth will bring it, though. That's the thing. Brett Booth is a really action-paced, like, artist. Like, he doesn't draw in, like, panels. He draws in diagonal panels.
Comics Quirks, whose volume is very low? Oz Chris says, knowing B. Clay Moore, expect Killers to get delayed a lot. That's a good one. I like that. But speaking of Nightwing, Bats, did you see who's doing the next issue of Nightwing?
I did not. Oh, yeah, Dan Abnett's taken over.
No.
Or who was it? Not Dan Abnett.
Jurgens.
Yeah, Jurgens is taking over. Yeah. I had mentioned that in a review.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. I've been waiting for that. Because, as much as I like Scott Lobdell, I feel like he does not have the creative control that he wants, so he's just phoning it
in. I've been liking what Scott's doing.
But really, that's what editorial's doing. That's not Scott Lobdell writing at all. That's paycheck writing.
You could be right.
Like, comparatively to, like, his Teen Titans run and his Red Hood and the Outlaws and Red Hood Outlaw, it does not feel like the same writer at all in any way, shape, or form. It's like, to me, it just feels like Brian Cunningham making sure that this fits the narrative of Tom King stuff until they want to switch him back over to being Nightwing. Like, God forbid he does something remotely cool in his own book.
I thought he's been doing some cool stuff.
Oh yeah, like burning tires and rubbing it on your face is really cool.
No, fair enough. I'm looking forward. I like this Nightwing's direction. I'm curious to see where it goes. I think it has some potential. I think Jurgens obviously has been a talent forever, so I thought you would be happy because I know Nightwing is your favorite character.
I saw it in the solicits 3 months ago, and I saw his name on it, and I was super happy.
Nice. Oz Chris says, hopefully Jurgens turns Rick back into Dick. That just reads funny. Sick of more superhero deconstructions. Yeah, I agree. Um, I think Rick is fine if it's for the story purposes of his whole memory loss thing. But I feel like the storyline, it's not serving a storyline. I think the storyline is trying to serve an agenda. And I think that agenda is to get rid of the Dick Grayson name. And so they're like, how can we do that? Let's try to think of creative way of why he doesn't call himself Dick anymore. And it's like, come on.
Dick is too much toxic masculinity.
Yeah, seriously. Feminists everywhere are offended just by the mere mention of Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
Oh, brother. All right. I think we're going to wrap this show up. And maybe I'll post one more time the invite. Make sure everyone has it.
Yeah, I hope to see you guys there. It's always fun over there.
Most of you have Discord already, so it's pretty easy to find us. If you have any questions,
Eric Bree needs to get up in there.
Yeah, Eric does. Eric's all over the place, man. Every time I'm like in a live stream, I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh, Eric Breen's in here,
and he always addresses you. He's like, Ash.
Yeah, he does. It's funny.
Does it to me too.
So we're gonna go over there. Jason,
it always throws off the guy streaming too, because they're like, because everyone knows Eric Breen. He's like YouTube comics celebrity almost. And they're like, Eric Breen says bats. And they're like, what the hell did he say bats? It's like, that cracks me up. So wait, Jason Black says, I have a question if you have a moment.
All right. Well, I will entertain this moment, but let's make it quick. We got some after party to go to. Lots of groupies.
There's hella chicks there.
Yeah. By hella, he means none.
Yeah.
Unless any of you are chicks. We don't want to assume any of your genders.
Your question is okay.
I'm wondering if my mic is picking up my dog snoring.
I don't hear it.
Probably not, because we're complaining that the mic was too low. Which reminds me, Bats, remind me to do some tech support with you to fix your audio.
Okay.
What's going on, Jason? What's this question? I feel like it's this long essay question. When you were young and getting into comics, what was your prime motivation? I don't even know what he's gonna ask. This is like a tense moment. I'm like, oh, I have the rights to a big YouTuber. Wait, what? I have the rights to a big YouTuber's IP likeness, etc. to do a comic. Okay. She's not CG and none of her fans would be. Okay. This is getting interesting. The plot thickens. It's a female YouTuber with 700,000 subs. Who could it be?
Beyonce?
Beyonce. I don't think Beyonce is known as a YouTuber.
None of her fans would be. Is it Gail Simone?
That would be hilarious. I don't think Gail has 700,000 subs. I don't think Gail's not a YouTuber.
She should be.
Okay, so Jason wants to know, what should I do being a CG loyalist? Well, that is a good question. So you say that she's not CG and none of her fans would be. So yeah, that was my question. Is she anti-CG, which she's not?
I say always do right by your fans. So
the answer is very simple here. Comic Quirks answered it. Just write a good comic. CG is not a political agenda. It's not. We're not trying to push anything on people. We just want to have good comics. The only reason CG exists is because the SJWs are hijacking the industry, stealing our characters and turning them into propaganda tools, and then they're also treating us like shit when we complain about it. That's what CG is about. So what you should do is do what Stan Lee would do. Just Stan Lee wasn't about Comicsgate, but yet at the same time, everything he stood for was the same thing as Comicsgate, right? Comicsgate is just a title that describes something in one word that other people cannot go, oh, okay, I know what you mean, without having to give this long verbose description every time you want to talk about it. If you're worried if you do this, CG is going to love me doing what we do, and the bases will clash. I don't want anyone calling her a hate group. Well, why would anyone call her a hate group if she's not anti-CG? I mean, is she really like far left? I mean, should she promote identitarianism? Does she promote things that many comic skaters clash with? Because that's an issue that you have as well, right? Like, Comicsgate is not about politics per se, but you're going to find a lot of right-wing political people who also identify with Comicsgate. And so, like myself, I'll use it as an example. I'm a very conservative person. I very much clash oftentimes with leftist, ideologues. And I do so because that's me. It's not Comicsgate. But I am also Comicsgate, so it's easy to confuse the two and be like, oh, well, Comicsgate is all about anti-left ideas. No, you can be a leftist person and be in Comicsgate too. This is just what I happen to be, and a lot of people also in Comicsgate. So, yeah. She's remarkably apolitical. I don't know. I think this is a more complicated question to deal with just right over at the end here of the show.
Yeah.
But I think you can just do a short answer. Just focus on doing a good comic. Pretend that Comicsgate doesn't even exist, and just do what it should be done. Forget about if she's not being anti-Comicsgate, it's like Alterna, right? Peter Samedi never promotes Comicsgate. You know, he just stays neutral, and he's like, I'm just here about doing good comics. And you should be able to do the same thing. You should just be able to, like, focus on just doing a good comic. And if Comicsgate pals of yours are like, what's going on, la la la, and saying, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with the Comicsgate, but this particular comic is not in that realm. It's not being anti-consumer. It's not being anti, mainstream comic characters being hijacked. It's its own thing, and there's no reason Comicsgate should have any problem with that book unless it somehow affronts, attacks Comicsgate. So I don't think you have much to worry about. I'm going to go ahead and wrap that up. Everyone's talking about going to Discord, so thank you guys all for showing up. 2 hours and 42 minutes. It's over. I tried to keep it under 2.5. We're going to do better next week. Sorry again for the delay. Actually, Bats, if we count the 15 minutes that the show went, it's actually less than 2.5 hours. So, Eric, we know you stayed up really late. We'll make the next one shorter for you. Thanks for showing up, staying the whole way. Have a good night. We'll see you next week. And for the rest of you that are going to Discord, we'll see you there. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Same Bats time.
Same Ash channel.